The truth you've been blind to your entire life is this: intelligence, when untamed, can become the greatest obstacle to your own happiness. While most people chase success, they are unaware that your mind, sharper than most, is quietly sabotaging the joy you seek. You feel it. That constant tension, the gnawing emptiness, the sense that life should be more than routines, achievements, or fleeting pleasures. And the answer has been hidden in plain sight. Ancient mystics, alchemists, and Jung scholars have long hinted at this. Your intellect, while powerful, creates a shadow within you, a shadow that no external achievement can fill. In the next few minutes, you will discover why smart people suffer, and more importantly, how your mind can be guided to create fulfillment instead of anxiety, disconnection, or existential frustration. By the end of this video, you will understand the hidden dynamics of your consciousness that secretly govern your happiness. Intelligence is not merely a collection of facts or the ability to solve problems. It is a vast, intricate labyrinth that constantly twists and folds in ways most people never perceive. For those who are highly intelligent, the mind operates almost like a magnifying glass, revealing subtleties, patterns, and connections that remain invisible to ordinary awareness. This clarity, however, comes at a cost. The sharper your perception, the more you notice contradictions, inconsistencies, and hidden tensions within life itself. Simple pleasures which others may take for granted, a smile, a casual conversation, a quiet walk, can feel hollow or fleeting because the mind refuses to settle for surface-level experience. What seems like ordinary joy is constantly filtered through layers of insight, observation, and subtle analysis, creating a friction that ordinary minds rarely encounter. The intelligent mind constantly weighs possibilities and alternatives, considers the unseen consequences of actions, and anticipates outcomes that others do not even imagine. This ability to foresee, to map patterns across time and behavior, can feel like both a gift and a burden. You sense the underlying motives in others, detect the hidden agendas in situations, and see the cracks in the carefully constructed facades of society. While others can accept things as they are, the intelligent mind struggles to reconcile what it observes with what it desires for meaning, coherence, and harmony. Each moment becomes a negotiation between perception and expectation, between insight and emotional resonance. This creates a tension that often feels invisible to the outside world, leaving the intelligent individual misunderstood and isolated, even when surrounded by people. Jung's insights into the human shadow reveal that what we fail to integrate consciously will always surface in our behavior, emotions, and even physical health. For the intelligent mind, this shadow is often more pronounced, more persistent, and more complex because it interacts continuously with layers of self-awareness. While others may push discomfort aside or distract themselves with routine pleasures, the highly intelligent mind amplifies it. Unmet needs, unresolved conflicts, and hidden fears are not just background noise. They are illuminated, magnified, and constantly analyzed, often without conscious permission. What results is an inner turbulence that feels like a storm at sea, even in moments that appear calm to an external observer. This is why smart people often describe their lives as a series of restless observations. They notice the subtle manipulations in relationships, the patterns of societal control, and the illusions people live under, all while feeling a quiet frustration that these realities cannot be changed instantly or resolved by knowledge alone. The intelligent mind cannot simply accept appearances. It demands a deeper understanding, a truth that transcends superficial explanation. And yet, life rarely provides this clarity in neat, consumable pieces. Instead, it offers complexity, paradox, and ambiguity, forcing the mind to navigate a constant interplay between what is observed and what is desired. Furthermore, intelligence often comes with heightened sensitivity. The very skill that allows for brilliant analysis also deepens emotional perception. Small injustices, subtle slights, or unspoken tensions resonate more profoundly with the intelligent mind. This emotional resonance can amplify the shadow as it highlights the disparity between the world as it is and the world as it could be. Ordinary distractions, pleasures, and routines offer only temporary relief, never fully quenching the thirst for meaningful integration between mind, emotion, and soul. The intelligent person becomes a perpetual seeker, navigating a labyrinth of perception and feeling, attempting to reconcile depth of understanding with the desire for contentment. The challenge, then, is not intelligence itself, but its relationship with integration. Intelligence becomes a source of suffering only when it is untethered from wisdom and self-awareness. The mind can uncover truths, but without the emotional and spiritual tools to contextualize and harmonize these truths, insight transforms into isolation, awareness becomes anxiety, and knowledge becomes a mirror reflecting inadequacy and longing. Smart people often know too much about the world, about themselves, and about human nature, and yet they rarely know how to translate that knowledge into a life that feels complete, harmonious, and connected. In practical terms, this means that highly intelligent individuals often need to approach life differently. While others may find satisfaction in achievement, recognition, or routine, the intelligent mind requires a kind of alignment that engages not just the intellect, but the heart, the intuition, and the soul. Joy and contentment are not found through external validation alone, but through a conscious integration of perception, emotional insight, and self-reflection. The intelligent mind must learn to navigate the labyrinth not only as a problem solver, but as an artist of consciousness, harmonizing insight with presence and knowledge with being. When this alignment is achieved, the labyrinth no longer feels like a trap, but becomes a vast landscape of discovery, where intelligence is a key to depth, richness, and ultimately, a form of happiness that transcends ordinary understanding. There is a silent trap that ensnares the intelligent mind, one that few ever speak of, because it is invisible to those who are not caught within it. It is not failure, nor lack of opportunity, nor even the hardships of life itself. It is the act of knowing too much, the burden of seeing layers of reality that others cannot perceive. For most people, life is lived in a series of moments, some joyful, some challenging, but largely navigable, because their perception filters out the complexities beneath the surface. But for the highly intelligent, the mind does not filter. It illuminates, it exposes, it reveals. And what it reveals is often uncomfortable, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. Imagine walking through a room where everyone else is seeing a simple pattern, a single image, while your mind perceives infinite details, hidden currents, subtle tensions, and unspoken motives. You notice the hesitations in people's speech, the invisible pressures that shape decisions, the hidden fears that drive behavior. And while others are content to live within the illusion of simplicity, your mind cannot. Clarity, for you, is not liberation. It is weight. Each observation adds a layer of responsibility, each insight a subtle tension that others simply never experience. This is why intelligent individuals often feel like outsiders in their own lives. They notice the contradictions that go unnoticed, the subtle manipulations that go unchallenged, the invisible structures that govern emotions, relationships, and society itself. And the more they understand, the more they feel the tension between what they see and what the world accepts. The world operates on assumptions, habits, and blind adherence to patterns, while your mind demands alignment with truth, coherence, and meaning. This creates an invisible friction, a quiet unrest that is constant, even when life appears ordinary from the outside. Jung's teachings on the shadow illuminate the core of this tension. The mind, when it perceives deeply without guidance, cannot avoid reflecting upon its own blind spots. Every fear, every hidden desire, every suppressed part of the self becomes magnified, not through exaggeration, but through awareness. What others can ignore, you cannot. You perceive the gaps in logic, the moral compromises, the hidden suffering that surrounds every moment. And this perception, untempered by integration, becomes a source of chronic unease. The hidden trap is subtle. Intelligence, which seems like a gift, can function as a magnifying lens on suffering. You see patterns in the world, but the patterns often reveal how fragile, inconsistent, and transient human constructs are. Social norms, cultural expectations, and even personal relationships can appear fragile, brittle, and unsatisfying when observed with a mind that seeks depth rather than superficial coherence. What this does is generate an internal tension between understanding and contentment, between awareness and peace. Moreover, intelligence interacts with curiosity in a way that often compounds the challenge. You cannot help but probe deeper, to question further, to analyze subtleties that others dismiss. This curiosity, when unbalanced, transforms observation into mental weight. The more you understand, the more responsibility you feel, to navigate, to correct, to see clearly. You are perpetually aware of the invisible forces shaping life, yet powerless to change them entirely. And this creates a tension that feels uniquely yours, a quiet burden that few can empathize with. The intelligent mind is also acutely aware of the unknown. While others may accept uncertainty with ease, you feel it intensely. Unknown variables, hidden motivations, unseen consequences. These are not abstract notions for you. They are lived experience. Every choice becomes a study of potential outcomes. Every interaction a map of hidden dynamics. And in this awareness, you find a subtle discomfort, a mental friction that is invisible but real. You are not anxious because life is unpredictable, but because your mind perceives the consequences that others never even consider. And yet, within this tension, lies the potential for profound awakening. The trap of knowing too much is not meant to imprison you. It is meant to awaken you. It is a doorway to deeper self-understanding, emotional integration, and conscious alignment. The very awareness that causes discomfort can, if guided, become the path to freedom. By observing without judgment, integrating insight with emotion, and learning to harmonize perception with presence, the intelligent mind can transform its burden into clarity, its tension into wisdom, and its observation into liberation. In the next chapter, we will dive into the deepest layers of this truth, the hidden mechanism that explains why intelligence amplifies suffering, and how understanding it can shift your entire relationship with life. For now, recognize that this trap is not a flaw. It is a signal that your mind is ready to engage with life on a level that few ever reach. And once you understand how to navigate it, what once felt like a burden will become the source of your greatest insight, your clearest perception, and your deepest freedom. The truth that most people never understand, and that almost every intelligent individual wrestles with in silence, is this. Your suffering is not caused by the external world, by failure, or by the lack of opportunity. It is caused by your very mind. Your intelligence, the same force that allows you to solve problems, create visions, and see patterns invisible to others, also amplifies your shadow. Jung called this the shadow of the self, the unacknowledged, unintegrated parts of your psyche that exist not in the world, but within you. And for those who are highly intelligent, the shadow is not a faint whisper. It is a magnified, living presence, constantly interacting with thought, emotion, and perception. Imagine your mind as a vast cathedral of awareness. Each thought, each observation, each insight illuminates part of this space, yet shadows linger in every corner. While others might see the cathedral as bright and inviting, your intellect perceives the darkness that others cannot. The hidden fears, the unresolved trauma, the subtle insecurities, and the unmet desires that have accumulated over years, even decades. And because your mind notices everything, these shadows are magnified, brought into sharp relief, and often projected onto your perception of the world. You see the fragility of structures, the imperfection of systems, and the hidden suffering of people around you with a clarity that can feel overwhelming. Jungian psychology explains that the shadow is not inherently negative. It is part of the self that has been denied, suppressed, or ignored. But when intelligence is unmatched by integration, the mind constantly analyzes, judges, and highlights the shadow without reconciling it. The result is inner turbulence, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and a subtle but persistent emptiness that can never be filled by achievements, relationships, or possessions alone. The intelligent mind recognizes that life is more complex, more ambiguous, and more contradictory than it appears. And in this recognition, it finds both insight and frustration. This is why smart people often describe feeling disconnected, even when surrounded by people who care. It is not that they lack love, friendship, or opportunity. It is that the mind sees layers beneath the surface that others ignore. The inconsistencies in behavior, the hidden agendas in systems, the moral compromises of those they respect. All of these are illuminated, and they create tension between what is observed and what the heart desires. And this tension is magnified by self-awareness, because the intelligent mind also sees its own shadows. Every insecurity, Every fear of failure, every unresolved inner conflict is mirrored back with precision. What others might dismiss or overlook, you cannot. Here lies the core insight. Intelligence is not a shield against suffering. It is a lens that reveals it. But this lens does not only expose pain, it also offers the key to liberation. When you understand that your suffering is a reflection of unintegrated shadow, the path to transformation becomes clear. The first step is recognition, to see the parts of yourself that have been denied, avoided, or suppressed. This includes the fears you hide, the desires you refuse to acknowledge, and the contradictions you resist. Recognition alone, however, is not enough. The second step is integration, to consciously accept, embrace, and harmonize these hidden parts into the whole of your being. Intelligence, when guided, can become the greatest tool for this integration. The mind that once magnified shadows can illuminate them, reveal their origin, and transform them into understanding. The fears that once caused anxiety become indicators of unresolved needs. The desires that seemed distracting become signals of your deeper purpose. The contradictions that frustrated you become gateways to insight. And in this process, what was once suffering becomes clarity, what was tension becomes alignment, and what was isolation becomes connection. The intelligent mind, when integrated with the shadow, transcends ordinary perception. It no longer suffers from seeing too much. It learns to see with compassion, wisdom, and presence. The very awareness that once caused inner turbulence now becomes a compass, guiding you toward alignment with your true self. You begin to understand that intelligence is not a curse but a sacred tool, capable of revealing the hidden architecture of reality, uncovering subtle truths, and facilitating the deepest forms of joy that ordinary minds cannot reach. Ultimately, this is why the smartest people often struggle with happiness. They are not failing at life. They are awake in ways that others are not. They perceive, they analyze, and they illuminate. And without guidance, this illumination can feel like an unending spotlight on imperfection, uncertainty, and hidden tension. But with awareness, intelligence becomes freedom. Awareness transforms the magnified shadows into mirrors of the soul, teaching lessons that cannot be found in achievement or knowledge alone. And in this revelation lies the greatest secret. Your suffering has always been pointing you toward growth, integration, and the awakening of consciousness itself. Once you grasp this, you realize that happiness is not a goal to be attained externally. It is a state that emerges naturally when insight, awareness, and integration converge. The mind that once caused suffering now becomes a sanctuary of wisdom. The shadows that once haunted you now illuminate the path toward fulfillment. And the intelligence that once felt like a burden becomes the most profound instrument of liberation you will ever possess. If you have ever felt exhausted by the very thoughts that should be your greatest strength, know that you are not alone. There is a quiet, almost invisible current that flows through the lives of highly intelligent people, a current of tension, awareness, and subtle unrest that others rarely notice. Perhaps you have lain awake at night, staring at the ceiling, turning ideas over in your mind, observing patterns, connections, and outcomes that others never see, while your heart feels empty despite accomplishments or recognition. You may have achieved success, earned praise, or built what appears to others as a meaningful life, and yet felt that something essential is missing. This sensation is not weakness. It is the unmistakable signature of depth, of consciousness, of a mind that perceives both the light and the shadow with clarity few can sustain. You may have noticed it in your relationships too. Perhaps you have found that connecting with others feels like a constant negotiation between understanding and disappointment. You can read the subtle cues of intention, sense the unspoken motivations behind words, and detect the hidden conflicts that ripple beneath the surface. And yet, most people are not trained to meet you here. They are not ready to engage at the level your mind inhabits. This can leave you feeling isolated, unseen, and profoundly misunderstood, even by those who care deeply for you. The frustration is real because your mind observes layers of reality that most cannot perceive, yet your heart yearns for connection, for warmth, for validation that resonates with the totality of your awareness. And beyond relationships, there is an internal dimension that is equally intense. The intelligent mind constantly measures, judges, and interprets its own experience. Every failure, every hesitation, every subtle inconsistency in yourself is magnified by awareness. While others may accept imperfection as ordinary, your mind cannot. You feel it acutely when your actions fall short of your ideals, when your decisions clash with your values, or when your potential seems limited by circumstance. These internal conflicts are not flaws. They are evidence of consciousness striving for coherence, of a soul refusing to settle for mediocrity, of a mind that seeks to align insight with lived reality. You might have also noticed that simple joys, which bring effortless happiness to others, often feel muted or incomplete to you. A beautiful sunset may feel like a fleeting fragment rather than a profound experience. A conversation may seem shallow, a social gathering mundane, because your perception constantly layers context, meaning, and consequence on top of what is happening in the moment. It is as though your mind sees both the visible world and the invisible architecture beneath it, the hidden codes of emotion, the unspoken motives, and the subtle patterns of cause and effect. Living at this level of awareness is exhilarating and exhausting simultaneously. Yet, the very things that make your life feel heavy are also the key to its richness. Your sensitivity, perception, and awareness, once understood and integrated, allow you to experience reality more vividly than most people ever can. The anxiety, the restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction, they are not punishments. They are signals. They are indicators that your mind and soul are alive, seeking a deeper form of understanding, a higher form of alignment. And the first step in transforming these signals into clarity is acknowledging them without judgment. I see you. I see the quiet frustration in your thoughts. I see the way your awareness isolates you, even as it illuminates. I see the longing for something more than fleeting pleasures, for something that resonates with your intelligence and your soul. And I see that within this tension lies the potential for extraordinary growth and liberation. The restlessness you feel, the depth of observation you cannot turn off, and the subtle discomfort with life as it appears to others, are not signs that you are broken. They are signs that your mind is awake, and that your soul is asking for integration, presence, and alignment. You have been carrying this inner turbulence alone for too long, but now, with awareness and understanding, the weight can shift. You can learn to navigate the labyrinth of your intelligence, not as a burden, but as a path. The shadows that once isolated you can become mirrors of insight, guiding you toward emotional balance, meaningful connection, and alignment between mind, heart, and soul. You can embrace the subtle tensions, the heightened perception, and the depth of consciousness as tools rather than obstacles. And in doing so, you will discover that the isolation you once felt is not a permanent state. It is a threshold, a portal into the fuller, more harmonious experience of life that your mind has always been capable of perceiving. In truth, what you feel as struggle is a reflection of potential. The friction between awareness and experience, the quiet disconnection from ordinary pleasures, the sensitivity that makes life feel heavier than it seems to others, all of this points to a deeper capacity for fulfillment. Your intelligence, your perception, and your sensitivity are not curses. They are sacred instruments. And the journey you are on, difficult as it feels, is guiding you toward a rare and profound form of presence, clarity, and joy that ordinary minds rarely attain. Now, imagine for a moment that the very intelligence which has felt like a burden, the awareness that has magnified every shadow and tension in your life, could become your greatest ally. The same mind that has kept you awake at night, analyzing, judging, and observing, can be trained, guided, and transformed into a tool of liberation. The first step is awareness itself, acknowledgement without judgment. Notice what your mind obsesses over. Notice the patterns of thought that create restlessness. Observe the parts of yourself that you have long avoided, denied, or ignored. These are not flaws. They are messages, signals from your own consciousness, pointing toward integration, harmony, and alignment with your deepest self. Begin by simply observing. Watch your thoughts as if you were seeing them for the first time, not with critique, but with curiosity. Notice how your mind amplifies tension, how it magnifies imperfections, how it searches endlessly for solutions that lie outside rather than inside. In these observations, you will find the seeds of transformation. The intelligent mind thrives on clarity, And the first clarity you can cultivate is within. The recognition that the shadows, the discomfort, the anxiety, they are all signs that your consciousness is alive, alert, and seeking wholeness. The second step is integration. This is where intelligence becomes liberation. The shadows you have carried, the unacknowledged fears, the hidden desires, the subtle insecurities, are not enemies. They are fragments of your own being that need recognition, acceptance, and alignment. When you meet them consciously, without judgment, without suppression, you dissolve the tension that once made them powerful. This is not instant, and it is not always easy, but it is profoundly effective. As the mind harmonizes with the shadow, awareness shifts from anxiety to understanding, from restlessness to balance, from isolation to connection with the totality of your consciousness. Next, learn to harmonize thought with presence. Intelligence alone, when ungrounded, can spin endlessly into analysis, speculation, and projection. Presence, however, anchors perception in lived experience. It allows you to witness the patterns you observe without being trapped by them. You are not the tension, you are the observer of it. You are not the shadow, you are the conscious mind engaging with it. And through this engagement, insight transforms into wisdom, and understanding transforms into serenity. From here, action arises naturally. Not the frantic reactive actions the world often rewards, but the subtle, deliberate actions that align with your integrated awareness. You begin to prioritize your own harmony, to cultivate practices that support presence and reflection, and to interact with the world in ways that respect both the depth of your perception and the subtle currents of life that others miss. Your intelligence, once a source of tension, becomes a guide, a compass toward clarity, balance, and fulfillment. This journey also requires patience and compassion. You will not harmonize every shadow overnight, nor will every observation instantly transform into insight. But the simple act of engagement, the commitment to observe, to integrate, and to align, sets in motion a ripple effect. The mind that once caused suffering becomes the mind that illuminates. The awareness that once heightened isolation now cultivates connection. The intelligence that once revealed limitations now reveals possibility. And ultimately, this awakening is not about becoming someone else. It is not about escaping the mind or rejecting intelligence. It is about reclaiming your inherent wholeness. You are learning to dance with your own consciousness, to navigate the labyrinth of your perception with wisdom, to transform shadows into guides, and to let intelligence serve presence rather than dominance. The liberation is subtle, yet profound. It is the quiet realization that your mind, your awareness, and your perception are not obstacles. They are instruments of awakening, of alignment, of deep, enduring happiness. So begin now. Turn observation into presence, tension into insight, and intelligence into liberation. Watch as the shadows begin to illuminate rather than haunt. Witness as understanding shifts from burden to freedom. And feel, finally, the mind and soul harmonizing into a state that is not dictated by external conditions, but by the conscious, integrated awareness of who you truly are. In the stillness of consciousness, beyond thought and beyond judgment, lies a truth that the mind can perceive but rarely holds. Your intelligence, your awareness, your capacity to see and understand has always been a doorway rather than a burden. The shadows that haunted you, the tensions that felt unending, the subtle disconnection from life that left ordinary joys muted, these were never punishments or flaws. They were signposts, signals of a consciousness awake, calling you to integration, presence, and alignment. The suffering of the intelligent mind has always had purpose. It was guiding you inward, toward a freedom that no external achievement can grant. As you allow yourself to embrace this awareness, something shifts. The mind that once spun endlessly through analysis and observation begins to relax into observation without judgment. The shadows that once loomed as sources of fear or anxiety are now illuminated as mirrors of your own depth, containing lessons, wisdom, and hidden pathways to fulfillment. In the quiet recognition of this truth, tension transforms into clarity, restlessness becomes insight, and isolation softens into connection. With yourself, with others, and with the subtle currents of existence that have always moved beneath the surface of your perception. Happiness in this state is no longer something to chase. It is no longer dependent on outcomes, recognition, or fleeting pleasures. It emerges naturally as the mind, heart, and soul align. It is a subtle radiance, felt quietly yet profoundly, arising from the recognition that you are whole, that your intelligence is sacred, and that the very awareness that once created struggle is now the instrument of liberation. You begin to understand that life was never meant to be easy, and that the weight you carried was always an invitation to awaken to a deeper dimension of experience. And in this awakening, you realize that your brilliance was never a curse, it was a beacon. Every insight, every perception, every subtle observation of reality was preparing you for this moment of alignment. The complexities that once felt overwhelming now reveal themselves as layers of richness, guiding you to navigate life with wisdom, discernment, and presence. What was once frustration becomes a compass. What was once tension becomes harmony. And what was once disconnection becomes communion. With the self, with consciousness, and with the profound mystery of existence itself. This is the quiet freedom of awareness. To live fully in the mind without being imprisoned by it, to perceive deeply without being destabilized, to observe the world with clarity and compassion, and to let intelligence serve presence rather than dominate it. The shadows you carry are no longer enemies. They are teachers. The restlessness that once burdened you is now a guide. And the sensitivity that once isolated you is now the source of profound connection, creativity, and insight. And so, as you move forward, carry this truth with you. Your mind is not separate from your soul, your awareness is not separate from your being, and your intelligence is not separate from your happiness. They are inseparable, intertwined, and designed to lead you toward a state of harmony that few ever reach, yet which has always been possible for you. In the quiet alignment of insight, presence, and integration, you discover what all intelligent minds ultimately seek. Not the absence of challenge, not the elimination of complexity, but the radiant serenity that arises when awareness meets wholeness, when perception meets compassion, and when intelligence becomes a pathway to liberation. And in this realization, there is no need for effort, no need for struggle, no need for striving. There is only the gentle unfolding of understanding, the quiet recognition of self, and the luminous harmony of consciousness fully awakened. Happiness, fulfillment, and peace were never distant goals. They were waiting, quietly, inside you all along. Waiting for your recognition, your integration, and your awakening.